Hey there, everyone. I'm trying something a little bit different today with video on my phone because I am just so horribly distracted with everything I've got going on right now. And I hope this might be an option to help out. I have a video set up already on YouTube. I don't want to post it yet because it is another planner video and I don't want to get too far off course from my main point, which is the witchy videos. So I wanted to make at least a quick witchy related video, and something that has come up recently a couple of times for me that I wanted to talk to you about is I've received several messages since starting my channel about becoming a witch. Basically, the question is, how do I become a witch? And I will always respond to questions and try to help out. And in some cases, I get additional responses. In some cases, the person just disappears. But I wanted to address that a little bit because I think for some reason, maybe because witchcraft and paganism, Wicca, whatever your tradition is not a mainstream religion, there seems to be this idea that there's somehow something different involved in becoming that person or that part of that group that you want to be part of. And I think it throws people off because they don't have a lot of information. They're not bombarded with it from media and outside sources like they are with the monotheistic traditions. So it's somehow mysterious, it's somehow otherworldly, and it can be daunting for people starting out. So what I try to say in this case, and I think this is part of the problem, when this question comes up, I think a lot of people who are asking it want some sort of cut and dry formula for becoming a witch. And unfortunately, there really isn't one. Everyone comes to their path in a different way. They find it differently, they practice it differently. And the additional thing that makes witchcraft and Wicca or whatever tradition a bit more complicated is that division that I just said, Wicca versus witchcraft. So there is a religious aspect to it, and there is a spiritual aspect. Now this actually comes into play with any religion, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, what have you. There are those two aspects, but they are a little bit either more integrated or less integrated. One factor is focused on more than the other. And so it's not as visible with the other religions as it is with witchcraft. So I am a big believer in the division between Wicca, I'll use that example, Wicca as the religious portion, and then witchcraft as the spiritual portion. I believe both are very fundamental and very necessary, but they are individual. They don't necessarily have to overlap. Very often they do, but it's not necessary. And that's when you get the crossover practices where you have a practicing Christian or Catholic or what have you that is also a witch. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that concept, I think, is very difficult for a lot of people to mull over and figure out and understand for themselves. So, how to actually become a witch? I'm going to say relate it to something that you know, relate it to something in the beginning at least that is familiar to you. So if you wanted to become a Christian, or in my case, I looked into the Catholic Church because that's what my family is. They're all Catholic. So if I want to become a Catholic, what do I need to do? What would I do? Well, I would probably start out by visiting a Catholic church, maybe find someone to speak to within the church because they always have people available to talk to. Find out if there are any study classes available, Bible study or some such. I would consider reading the Bible if I've never read it. And that would be my introduction and my journey to becoming Catholic. It doesn't happen overnight. It requires effort and research, and it requires getting to know myself and through that process and deciding, is this really what I want to do? So if that is what I would do to become Catholic, then I would do the exact same thing to become a witch. I would research. I would read books. There is no Bible for witches, but there is a plethora of information out there. Many different authors, many different points of view. At the very least, review it. Look into different options. You don't have to take on any particular tradition or thought process as your own. View it as research. The tricky part here, so we're going a little bit backwards. In the Christian example or the Catholic example, I would go first to the church and then to the book. But in Wicca and witchcraft, I would do it the opposite, because it's much easier in this case to find books and reference materials. So I would do some research first and then try to find the people to talk to. At one point in time, when Wicca kind of came up as the thing in the 40s and 50s, and then became very popular in the 60s and 70s, at that point there was not a whole lot of research materials out there. So you kind of had to be a part of a coven. You had to find a group if you wanted to become a witch, because that was how you got the information to study. Today, that's not the case. Today, everything is readily available on the internet, books, bookstores. It's all out there. A coven group environment is not necessary. That said, and I will be doing a video on my opinion of group work, but that said, I do believe group work and finding a group to be part of in the beginning is very, very helpful. I found it amazingly helpful to have a set schedule, to have other people that I knew I could go to with questions, comments, people that I could work with of varying levels of knowledge. It was a great resource for me. Again, that can be hard to find. This day and age, you may not have people near you. You may not know about them. Many covens are not advertised. So where to look? I always suggest meetup.com. Meetup is a great resource online, and you can find people all over your area. The other good thing is if you have a metaphysical shop or esoteric shop of some sort in your area, go in there. Talk to people. Talk to the people who run the shop. They may know of classes or groups that you can look into. Facebook, you can find groups on Facebook. The one cautionary bit I want to give on this is, do take it all with a grain of salt. Just because there's a group doesn't mean that it's a great group. It doesn't mean that the knowledge that they give out is necessarily the best. But again, look at all of this as personal research. Take it all in, study it, mull it over in your mind until you feel that you are able to come to your own conclusions about what you want to believe and what you feel is right. At that point, and it may take a very long time, at that point, you can branch out. And none of this is linear, by the way. You are always a permanent student learning things. You may be part of a group for a while and then be solitary and then back as part of a group. So all of this can overlap. But the essential pieces are there. The research, finding people you can talk to. And by the way, that doesn't necessarily have to be a coven or a group. If you just find other like-minded people, other pagans, other people studying the same path that you are studying, make friends. Have a study buddy. I have that right now with a friend of mine. I haven't been in a group for a while. She is just starting out, and she was looking, she is part of a study group. It is not a coven, she's part of a study group, and then she also comes and chats with me, and that is wonderful for both of us. It gets both of us interested, studying, working. Many of us need incentive to work, to actually do these things that we are researching. And that would be the last segment, and then I'll wrap up this video. So, no matter how much you research, remember that being a witch is active. To be is active. Learning, studying, reading is wonderful, but it's not actually doing. So no matter where you are in your journey, in your path, you can always immediately start doing. There is always something you can do. If you learn about lavender, you think, oh, it's so calming, and hey, you find some recipes for tea or an ointment or something that you can use lavender in, do it, make it. Be crafty, be creative. That is witchcraft. That is being a witch. Not just the learning, but the doing. If you read about setting up an altar and you decide you want an altar, set one up. It does not matter at this point in time, if you are just starting, it doesn't matter if everything is in the right spot or not. The right spot is where you feel it needs to be. That is the wonderful thing about our gods and goddesses. They are much more forgiving in the little details than the monotheistic deities. They will probably laugh at you if you've put, something in the quote unquote wrong spot, and they will listen to you anyway. So never be afraid to just start doing. Again, caveat, do not go out and call up all sorts of strange energies and spirits and things that you don't really have a handle on. That is not recommended. What I'm talking about is practical items. You know the new moon is coming up? Arrange an event. The full moon, take a look at other people's full moon rituals and see if you want to imitate one or put one together yourself, and think about what correspondences you might want to use, what kind of working you might want to do, and then do it. So, yeah, that's my bit on that. Research, find study buddies, do. That is the grand master formula for becoming a witch. Learn, talk, do. It's kind of like when I was in the military doing in-services. See one, do one, teach one. So look at what others have done, do it yourself, and then teach others. Not necessarily, don't take on the title of teacher if you've done a ritual once. What I mean is, you learn best by showing others. This is where the group work comes in handy. You can put something together and then go through it with someone else to get feedback. Get feedback and evaluation, get ideas, and brainstorm. Okay, and I am just about at 15 minutes, so I will cut it short. I also have to get back to work, but I hope this little video was helpful for the folks who have been asking, how do I become a witch? And please do send me an email, send me a note if you have further questions. I am always happy to chat and get the conversation going. Thanks very much for watching, and hopefully we talk again soon. Bye, everyone.